Okay guys, today I'd like to show you how to program your own retro style video game on Scratch. And this game is called Shark Attack. So it works by the main character, in this case it's a diver, follows the mouse around repeatedly forever. And then you can collect the star by touching it, and we can see in the top left our score is increasing by 1 each time. You'll also notice that underneath score I have lives and I start with 5, and you'll notice that when I touch the shark those lives go down, and if we go all the way down to 0 we want to program something to happen so we can have a game over sign that appears. So what we're going to do, we're going to start from nothing and we're going to hit create, and as you can see over here we've got our character or our sprites. On the left here we've got our different commands and blocks we can use to program our characters, and then in the middle this is the workspace where we're going to put our commands together to form lines of code. So I'm going to start just by deleting the cat because I'm going to make mine an underwater game like in the example. So you can choose any character you want. I'm actually going to search for the diver and I'm going to select this diver here. So there's my diver that I can use. Now in the example you saw that my main character is following the mouse around repeatedly. That's how it's working. So we need to think about how we're going to program this. Now obviously if you want to run your program you press the green flag, and if we press the green flag over here we can see that nothing's happening. Now why is nothing happening so far? We haven't put any code into our workspace and we haven't coded or programmed our character. So as a rule of thumb, we can always press events and actually start with when the green flag is clicked symbol. I've never seen these strange cat blocks before. I don't know what that is. So we're going to say when the green flag is clicked. Now what did we say we wanted our diver to do? Now the great thing about coding in Scratch is it makes a lot of sense, and if you can think about how you might write the instructions on paper, often it's quite similar with how you would write it using code. So I'll give you a hint. We want the diver to go to mouse pointer, okay, and this is to do with movement or motion, so how he's moving. So if we go over to our blocks here, if we go to this blue motion category, you can see we've got our different blue commands. So that move 10 steps, turn 15 degrees, go to random position. Now we said we wanted him to go to the mouse pointer, so if I press this down arrow I can see that there's go to mouse pointer. So if I drag that in here, I'm going to click my blocks together. So let's have a look at our code so far. It says when the green flag is clicked, the diver is going to go to the mouse pointer. So let's test this. If the green flag is clicked, he goes to the mouse pointer. But the problem is, when I move the mouse pointer, he's not following it round. We've only told him to go to the mouse pointer when the green flag's been clicked. So actually we want to use a repeat loop. We want him to repeatedly go to the mouse pointer forever for the whole game. So we can use a forever loop. So if we go into control, you can see we've got a wait block if you wanted any character to wait, or we've got a repeat block here. And how the way the repeat block works is anything you put inside of it is going to be repeated that number of times. So in this case it would be 10. Now as I've outlined, actually we want our character forever, repeatedly, to be going to mouse pointer. So this is a forever loop, and this means that the diver is going to go to the mouse pointer repeatedly for the whole game. So let's test that. So when the green flag is clicked, this code's going to run. So let's press the green flag and we can see that our diver is following the mouse around. Now you might want to play around with his direction. At the moment, if I go right, he faces right, but if I go left, he swims backwards. So we can fix that. If we go down to direction, we can actually choose this rotation style. Instead of it being all around, we could choose this left-right rotation style. And this will mean that he would go left and right. But actually what we need to do is we need to do one more thing. If we go to motion, we actually want to tell him to point towards the mouse pointer. So this means, let's have a look at our code. When the green flag is clicked, forever, our diver is going to point towards the mouse pointer and go to it. So he's going to point towards it and go to it. So if I press go, we can see now that he's actually following it around quite nicely. You might want to play with the size of your diver. Obviously the size here, we have the number 100. So you could test some different sizes. I think 80 works quite nicely. Now, what were the other features of the game we needed to add? So to make a game or a video game interesting, we need some scoring system, so maybe some objects to collect, and some danger, some enemies to make it more difficult. So in this example, we're using a shark, which is going to take lives away from us. So the first thing we're going to do is actually add another sprite, and this is going to be our star. Now, in the game that I showed you, the example, that's actually one star sprite that's moving around to different random positions, and we can program our star to move to different random positions. So if I press here, we're going to choose a new sprite, and actually I'm going to just search for the star because I know it's what I want. You might choose a starfish because we're underwater. I'm just going to choose a star for now. So we've got our star, and let's press the green flag and let's see what happens. So we've got our diver, and he's swimming around, and he gets the star. But then nothing appears to happen. Why is nothing happening? Because we haven't programmed it yet. So what do we want our star to do? Now, you might have remembered I said we want it to go to a random position. So first of all, we could get that, couldn't we? Go to random position. Let's just put that in the workspace. We know we're going to want to use that. And also, we're going to want this to happen, or we're going to want some of this code to run when we press the green flag, because that's when we run our whole game. That's like the play button. So when the green flag is clicked, go to random position. Okay? And that's working. If I press the green flag, it goes to a random position. But we don't want it to go to a random position when we press the green flag. That only happens once when we play our game. So what do we want to happen to cause the star to go to a random position? Okay. Now what we're going to use something called a conditional, or an if statement. We can program the computer to check to see if something's true, and then carry out a command if that thing is true, or if that statement is true. So you might be familiar with conditional statements from your English lessons. So if it's raining, comma, wear a raincoat. Now what we're going to do is we're actually going to get an if statement. So if we go to control, you can see where we have our repeat loops. Underneath here we have this if then statement. Now what we can do is we could say if the star is touching the diver, then go to a random position. So let's put all that together. So if touching diver. Now this is to do with the computer sensing when something is happening or when something is true. So what we're going to do, if we go down to sensing, we can straight away see we have this touching block. And because we're programming the star, we want to program it to say if that star is touching our diver. And we can grab this and we can just squeeze it in here. It doesn't fit very nicely this way, but you can see it lighting up right there, and it fits nicely this way. So let's look at our code and then run it and test it and see if it's working in the way that we'd like it to. So when the green flag is clicked, if the star, because we're programming the star, if it's touching the diver, then go to random position. So let's test this. Press the green flag, and it doesn't appear to be working. Now I wonder if you know why. Now if we literally look at this code, this is saying that when the green flag is clicked, if the star is touching the diver, then go to random position. But what we actually want to do is we want to get the computer to repeatedly check to see if this statement is true, and to check it and to check it and to repeatedly again and again check to see if the star is touching the diver. So if we want something repeatedly to happen again and again, what do we need to put around this if statement, do you think? Okay, so we're going to grab a forever loop or a repeat loop. So we're going to use in this case a forever loop. Now what this means is from the start of the game, when we press the green flag, for the whole game, so forever, if we're touching the diver, so if the star is touching the diver, then it should go to a random position. Okay, and that's our code there. So if I press the green flag now, my diver is swimming around, and the computer's constantly checking to see if the star is touching the diver. Now, it's only going to move to a random position, or it's only going to carry out this command if the statement is true. So if touching diver, then go to random position. So if we press our star, we can now see that it's going to a random position. So why don't you pause the video now and see if you can program your character to move around the screen and follow the mouse, and to add an object for your character to collect, which moves around to a random position if it's touching your character. So pause the video and have a go yourself.